Hello, everybody, and welcome to a uh, a very special DGT League G-Spot. Um, although technically it's a deep dive into a G-Spot. Okay, so before we really kick off onto this, there's a few things I want to make perfectly clear. Number one, I'm not doing this to pick on anybody or to put blame on anybody or anything like that. So um, the person that is mainly featured in it or is featured in this, please do not think that I'm doing this to pick on you or pick faults with you. It's actually the opposite that I'm trying to do. I'm wanting to help with a bit of racing, but also perhaps help with understanding of what may or may not have been happening on the road. Number two, um, if anybody else wants me to do this for one of their races, feel free to ask, and if I get a chance to do it, I will. Now, the person involved here is Conrad. We're going to have a deep dive into Conrad. Considering the parmos that he eats, it's probably not going to be very pretty. Um, but Conrad hasn't asked me to have a look into this. Um, what Connor has done is, I think first time ever, he did actually put a report in. Unfortunately, though, the report that he put in was sort of very generic. It was like, I should get it word for word, but I'm going to paraphrase here. There was some shocking driving standards in this race from lap 5. Here's my footage. Now, from a stewarding perspective, when it comes to people reporting stuff, we've no problem people reporting stuff, but we do need things to be a bit more specific. What lap was it on? Or the time next to play that you can see at the bottom of the screen. So there's two clocks. There's the one in the bottom corner on the left there, and then there's the one just to the left of the well, just here. This is the one we go off. Um, so that's the one we class as next to play. Yeah, so give us the timestamp for it. A few reasons for that is one, as stewards, we can't sit there looking through every like someone's footage from start to finish, trying to pick on. Oh, is that something that he's looking at? Is that it would take us forever to do that, and it's something we've never done. So we do need the specifics. Now, we did give Connor the opportunity to take a bit of time and give us the information of those, but he wasn't able to do it. But because Conrad did put his footage forward in a sort of generic, right, here's the footage, there was some shocking driving in there. I am taking that as well. He's provided his footage, so I'm going to have a look. Now, obviously, for Connor, like I said, I think it's the first time he's reported anything. So, um, finding out exactly how we want stuff reporting is a new step. But also, there was something I was going to say and I've forgotten. What was I going to say? My mind has just completely gone blank. Um, yeah, gone. So yeah, that was it. Right, I've got it. Yeah, so because Connor has effectively put a report in, although it's not very clear, obviously we're aware that there must have been things that have frustrated him throughout the race. So what I want to do here is I'm going to look at Conrad's race from the replay I've got, um, and see what happens around him, and see if there are things where we could go, okay, yeah, DEMONR has done something a bit daft there. Can understand why Connor might be a bit frustrated about that. DEMONR should do better. So an education for other people, but also there may be stuff that happens that Connor perhaps got frustrated with. Um, and hasn't seen, and this may be a way of sort of going, okay, well that could be something I could see him getting frustrated at, but the person's made a genuine mistake and they've waited and they've done all the right things, or whether it's someone is constantly every lap smacking into him or something like that. So it's for everybody's benefit. So Connor, please, please, please do not think I'm picking on you here. Now I do know as well, because I was part of the conversation, I have had a private conversation with Conrad, and I did say to him there was a few things that I wanted to um, help him with, and I'm actually going to do it on this video because chances are we might not get a chance to actually sit and have a chat. So we're going to cover that on this video. Now this video may be quite long, so it's going to be at least 40 minutes. So if it is longer than that, I do apologise. Now at the point of recording this, we have already done the stewarding for things that have been sent in. So I'm not really going to be sort of giving anything away. Now, as for what is going to happen on screen here, there's only 2 or 3 things that I know of because I've looked into them from a sort of steward, stroke admin perspective. As for whatever else happens in the race, I have no idea what's going to be happening here. I'm going into this completely blind to a degree, other than what I've seen when we recorded the footage, but I can't remember what happened. Okay, so as I said, we are going to go with Comrade. Excuse me. And also, as I mentioned, one of the reasons I am doing this is because if there are things that have been happening that have been getting Conrad frustrated, if it turns out that actually there's things he's been getting frustrated about aren't really worth getting frustrated about, or perhaps are different to what he thought had happened at the time, it's personally, I think it's 100% worth showing this. Okay, I just need to double check that I'm recording. I am. Okay, now before we do get started, I'm going to mention 4 things. Breaking points. 4 of them. Before we go into this footage, I'm going to say what the breaking points are for 4 corners, which have a massive effect on how a car will handle around this track. So turn 1, obviously we've got a bit of a kink left here, but I'm not classing that as a turn. So turn 1's braking point is the 400 board on the left hand side. We're then got turn 1's hairpin down a hill into another big hairpin where the braking point again is 400. Okay. After that, we've got a sort of little tricky downhill left-hand double left-hand set of corners where there's a 100 board that I personally used as my sort of lift off and slow down point for both of the corners. And then the next braking point I'm going to mention is after the penalty bridge, which is the 200 board. Now, I'm mentioning these specific boards because I know if you brake at that point, you don't overheat the tyres and you have grip through the corners and on corner exits. If you brake after those points, you end up braking harder for longer and it punishes the tyres a bit more, which heats the tyres up a bit more. You then don't have the grip in the middle of the corners and you don't have the grip on the exits of the corners. Now, what people may find is that they can brake later and make the corner, but they might not be getting through that section of corner particularly quickly. So, for example, if I'm side by side with someone who's going to brake at turn 1 of the 300 board, clearly they're going to be faster into the corner. But are they going to be faster through and out of the corner? That's where I would say no. So the breaking points that I've mentioned there are things that we're going to sort of have a look at here, because one of the things that I want to mention to Conrad that I believe will help him massively is he does seem to brake quite late. Now to him it won't seem late, it'll seem like everybody else is braking a bit early. But what happens with Connor is he brakes, slows down, makes the corner, but now his tyres are hot and on the exits ends up getting sideways. So I believe that we're going to see a bit of that today. Now, if Conrad is braking at the 400 for turn 1 and the other points I've mentioned and gets sideways, then it's nothing to do with his tyre temperatures unless he's doing something funky. But if he's braking at the 400, he should have no problems with grip or traction unless he's got an excessive amount of steering angle on. still on when getting on the power on the corner exits. Okay, right, so let's kick on and let's see what's going to happen for Conrod around Grand Valley. Now there's going to be parts of this where I might skip forward bits, or I might rewind and look at things. So off the start, all good. So there's the 400 board. Now on the first lap, yeah, we're going to brake later because we're not up to speed. Jason, a bit laggy. Looks like a couple of cars are a bit laggy. Okay, so down here, the 400 board. Okay. 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 So as I said, the 400 board is the braking point for this corner down here. So let's just see where Connor brakes. Now don't go off the lights on any of the cars. I'm looking for that. Okay, so at the 300, Conrod's starting to brake. Now, one thing I will say is when cars have got boost and they've got that extra grip, they may feel like they can brake later. I personally wouldn't. I'd brake at the same points. The speed with the boost comes through the section of the corner. So if you brake at the same point as what like if I brake at 400 and I've got all the boost, I'm still going to go through the corner considerably faster than the person in first. I don't have to brake late. But okay, so straight off, lap 1, looks like Conrod's braking point for this big hairpin is 300, right? Now, it's not meters, it's yards, I think, or feet. Might be feet. But this, for me, straight away says, okay, this is Conrod's braking point, potentially. But what this braking point will mean is that he's going to be on the brakes a lot more for longer, and when he gets to the middle of the corner and the exit of the corner, his position and speed is going to be compromised. Okay, so let's play this on. Okay, so he's over by the yellow line, and he's wide. Okay, right. So this might seem like I'm picking on him, but I'm not. Now, okay, through the corner he's giving space, but he has gone wide on the exit of the corner. Look at how much brake he had to use and how long for, and he's only just sort of fully come off the brakes, and he's in the middle of the road, and as he's turning, and now, I mean, okay, he can't really go more right because there's a car there, but as he starts getting back on the power, which he's doing now, he's actually having to lift off again. Okay, now his car's running a bit wider, coming back on the power a bit, but his car is constantly running wide. Right now, okay, it's the first lap, but oh, I didn't mean to do that. That one. So his car's running wide. Now I think he'll probably get a penalty for that, for going across the white line. Okay, so that's massively unfortunate for Conrod. But just to put it into perspective, this is what I find I brake at 200. Let's just see what I actually do down here. Okay, so lap 1 does look like I braked a little bit later. Okay, so I'm about 350. Okay, now, but look at how much brake pressure I use in comparison to Connor, and this is just like a 50-foot difference. Conrad was on full brakes pretty much all the way to the corner. I went full brakes, come off, never went full brakes again. So just to show that, so went full brakes, came off them, and was not on full brakes again. And what that does, it puts a hell of a lot less punishment through your tyres. Now, we haven't got tyre wear on, but you still suffer with overheating. So if you're fully on the brakes for longer down here, you're going to put more punishment for your tyres and overheat them more. So watch Connor's braking. Fully on the brakes for much longer, all the way to the corner, and he was still coming off them into the corner. So interesting difference. Right, the 100 board is that one on the right. This is where I would lift off and just literally let the car slow itself down. Personally, I was staying in third gear through this whole section, but Connor may be defending a bit. Second gear. Miss the apex a little bit. Now, going a bit hard on the brakes at the big hairpin will affect what grip you have through the rest of the corners. Okay, so already part way through this lap, we've seen Connor's still on the brakes into a few of the corners. Might see if that's a feature. Okay, down here, braking point 200. Okay, yeah, it braked a bit later. Oh, Steve F1, you naughty boy. What did Steve do there? I mean, Steve may have been nudged. I don't know. Let's have a look. Okay, going defensive. Oh, yeah, Steve's missed his braking point by a mile. So, yeah. Trying to get a bit of a nudge there. Steve does drop back. Does the right thing there. He definitely made a bit of a mistake. Oh, too much steering angle there. He's alright, he's got away with it. Bit too much steering angle on for too long, but it's alright. A little over the curb on the left, just to settle him. Okay, now this time, braking point 400. Obviously Connor should be aware of the cars that are behind him. So we're going to brake at the 400. Nope. Okay, we're beyond the 400. And the interesting thing though is, okay, so people may look at that and go, well, there's absolutely nothing wrong. He's made the apex absolutely fine. This is where I feel I can help Conrad. Because if we look again, look at the amount of brake pressure. So let's see. Okay, so he's not on the brakes yet. He's just creeping on the brakes, gently. Okay, at 300 he's kind of getting on them. Okay, he's on the brakes. But now, let's have a look at the amount of brake pressure and for how long. Full brakes, long. Now he's feeding off them. And okay, he's got the car slowed down, but actually he's slowed the car down too much. So much so that he's now on the right-hand side of the apex. He's a bit too far to the right. So what has happened in that fraction of a braking zone is he's heated the tyres up while braking for being on them as long as he was, but also slowed the car down too much. I mean, I'm not going to keep doing this, but just as a comparison, hopefully I'll get this right. Although this may be the one where Jason hits me, so I might not get this right. But again, look at the difference in the amount of braking for how long. Now, it might not seem that different, but the car was more under control. Right, okay, let's carry on. Oh, okay, yeah, so Connor, penalty there for taking too much apex. It's unfortunate. Little flip of the throttle, centered a bit too wide. Okay, we're going to go for the 300 again. Yep, okay, 300, full brakes. It's full brakes all the way in. It's not ran as wide this time, but it's still put in a bit of heat through the tyres. Let's see how his grip is around here. Not too fast, got to slow it down again, he's on the brakes. Now you might think that's absolutely fine, again. I mean, I know I said I wasn't going to do this. Let's see if I show it on this occasion. I very hardly touched the brakes down here. So I lifted off, braked me there, little dab there. I wasn't trying to speed up again at any point. But it's just about keeping the balance of the car. Admittedly though, I did have more practice than Connor, which makes a big difference. I brake just before the 100 here. Connor's going a little later. Always got to go wide. Oh, he just got on the power too soon. That's all that was. I mean, he's got a pedal, but that was literally got on the power a fraction too soon, and that sent him wide. Now, because he had the penalty, right to the start of the bridge there, that's fine. Come off your steering. Come off your steering. Come off your steering. Okay, so Connor could work on coming off his steering a bit more. What did he get a penalty for there? Because that seems a bit harsh. Okay, it must have been for the left-hand bit, which is a bit harsh. Yeah, it must be this bit. We did notice a few times being on the white line with two wheels on the grey curb, it didn't like it. It is a harsh penalty, that one. Just getting a bit too over to the left. The entry to the tunnel's difficult, though, especially when you've got cars around you. Okay, so where are we braking? Okay, something that's just starting to happen is the temperature is just starting to creep in. Now, because we're only a couple of laps into this race, a build-up of temperature hasn't really happened yet. It will happen, but this is where as well, if you have tyre wear on, and this is where this will help Connor massively. If we had tyre wear on, Connor's amount of tyre wear at this point compared to my own would be he would have considerably more because of how much he's using the brakes into the corner. Okay, so think about what I've mentioned about the braking point for turn 1 where I said 400. Personally, if I was on the right hand side here, I know I'm going to want to have the car straight when I'm braking, especially this one because it understeers a bit. But if my braking point is the 400 and I'm doing it sort of gently to begin with, then I'm going to be braking at the 400 a bit harder. Conrad, though, it would appear that his braking point is the 300, as we see he's not on the brakes yet. Now, his lights have come on, but his brakes aren't on yet. Just creeping on now. So, for Connor, he has braked a little earlier for what he would normally do. But in comparison to me, he is braking nearly 90 feet later, which is a massive amount. And when you consider it in that amount of distance, that 90 feet distance equates to tyre punishment, tyre temperature, tyre wear, grip in the corner, grip on the exit of the corner. So although Connor may feel like he can brake later than me down here, when it comes to actual middle of the corner minimum speed and grip and corner exit speed, that's where I would expect to be faster and have tyre wear for longer. Now, in this scenario, once again, Connor has got the car slowed down. It's on the brakes for a long time to make sure he does it. Little wobble there. Right, that tiny little wobble there was a little raise of the revs. That's the tyre temperature. Might not seem like much right now, but give it another 2 or 3 laps, and that could actually be much, much worse given the build-up of temperature, and if we had tyre wear, the build-up of tyre wear as well. So that's another thing to bear in mind. Okay. Let's go side by side down here. Never easy, this. Braking at the 300 again, on the brakes for a long time. So I think even if Steve F1 wasn't there, I think Connor may struggle to get to the apex. We'll have to see when, if he's on a lap where he's got one next to him. Yep, down to second on the title line. Tricky corners these when you're going down to second. Change your direction, very tricky. Come off the steering, come off the steering. Okay, coming off the steering is something very, very handy. Surprising how early you can actually come off the steering. So I'd come off the steering now. Just straightens up the front end, you've got the grip. Don't get on the power too soon. He did it earlier, we saw him run wide, so he's not done that, so we're all good. Got a penalty to serve though. With the reduction in speed and the bit of boost, he braked at 100 there, gets away with it on this occasion because of the reduction in speed. Someone behind didn't. Okay, avoids the left hand side. Okay, come off the steering. Yeah, he definitely could come off the steering earlier. Okay, side by side, it's all good. Nicely done. Tricky scenario this. Oh, Bob wants his Steve slipstream, but he can't have it. Okay, his little lifts, I like that. He has braked at the 300 though. Now, interesting, on this occasion, Connor's actually short shifted to third, probably because he knew last time there was that little bit of a nudge. But again, it's braking at, now Connor has lifted before, but it's braking at the 300. This is if I was in Connor's position here, I wouldn't be thinking, let's make a move here. Reason being, I know I'd have to slow down enough to keep the inside line, that it is going to compromise my speed. I'd let Steve and Bob crash. Being in Connor's position here is risky, but at the same time, there's no reason why he can't attempt an overtake here, as long as he gets it slowed down. But this again is where it's fully on the brakes for a long period of time. He's risking getting a penalty over the apex again. Okay, down the hill. See if he does the blip on the throttle after the lift. He did a bit more of a press of the throttle, went a little wider. Okay, braked a bit earlier. Okay, he's just been hit by Bob. We'll get to that. Okay, so Conrad has braked earlier than his normal braking point. However, I would still say that it is still a good 50, 60, 70, 80 yards late. But in comparison to when he was on the left-hand side of the track, he actively is braking a little bit earlier compared to his norm. I would just recommend to Connor, I think your norm is a little too late, and it's costing you big time in the middle of corners and on the exit of corners. Okay, let's keep looking at this. We'll have a look at Bob's boo-boo. He has braked about 350 there. Bob, and then a little sideways. Okay, so let's have a look there. Bob, what did you do, Bob? Who said you can have a gold star, Bob? Okay, first off, let's have a look at Bob's braking point, shall we? Okay, yeah, Bob's braking point was a little too late there. It's a shame you can't skip backwards fractions as well as skip forwards here. So, yeah, my braking point is the 400, but we'll see. Like, Connor is on the brakes now. Steve F1 may not be on the brakes yet. Bob is... Let's have a quick look. Is Steve... Yeah, Steve's not on. So even Steve's braking a little bit late. But the thing is, with this corner, it's easy to do. It seems way too far away to brake at the 400, but 100%, folks, the amount of grip you have when you brake at 400 compared to 300 is a massive amount, and the amount of time you can gain is a massive amount. It's the only reason I won this race. Spoiler alert, is because of braking at the 400, 400, 100, 200. That gave me the grip in all of the corners and the speed in all of the corners. Okay, so when does Bobby get on the brakes? Not yet. Oh, Bobby Boucher's just on him now. So it would appear that Bob's braking point is 300 as well, but it's too late. With the boost and with the extra speed he'll be carrying, it's definitely too late. He knows now he's fucked up and he's trying to take evasive. Now, fair play, he's trying to take evasive, but unfortunately, he has hit the back of Connor. Now he does slow down, he does wait, he makes sure Connor's ahead of him. Connor does have a bit of a moment, manages to keep going. I could understand Connor perhaps getting a little frustrated with that one because he was attempting to make an overtake and it ended up not being able to make an overtake. But I mean, definitely from an admin's perspective, I'd say, okay, that can happen. Anyone can make a mistake there. What I would want to see from Bob is for him to now not continue doing that in that corner. Because that's when it can start getting annoying. The other thing as well, I mean, clearly we're seeing a big difference in what people think the braking points are, and this is just into 4 laps. So I'm saying 400. We're seeing people brake at 300. We're just seeing a collision with people braking at 300. If you're braking at 300 and you're hitting a car in front of you, you're braking too late. But also, I mean, I have this rule of thumb. If the fastest person on the track is telling you the braking point is 400, you might want to try it, because that's how they're going fastest. But anyway, right. So Bob does what he should. He waits and lets Connor go. That little sideways moment that Connor had on the edge of the corner as well would have been from the nudge from Bob overheating the tyres, but could still be affecting him now. Okay, so don't go deep on the brakes. Okay, a little earlier on the brakes. Little early on the downshift for my liking, but come off the steering, come off the steering, come off the steering. Quite late coming off the steering. That'll be a massive effect on tyre wear as well. Okay, so we're on 200 for braking. Okay, kind of defending. Okay, let's just have a quick look at that. Just want to see if he was defending or whether he's looking for an attack. I think, yeah, he's covering it off, going defensive. Yeah, so Bob's moved to have a look. Now, Bob is on the brakes at the 200. Connor is on it just after. It's about the right point, which is why Connor comfortably has the grip to get around this corner. No, too tight. That may be a penalty. But his car's not twitching. He wasn't running deep. Nicer exit. I would stay off that curve on the left. Okay, I think we're going to see a 300 braking point. Oh yeah, definitely. Now, interesting. Okay, I don't want to be disrespectful, but to the layman who looking at that might think, Yeah, nothing wrong. There's some key moments in that that give me lots of information. Okay, so in approach to this corner, I would be thinking, okay, side by side, the overtake is definitely on, right? And Steve F1 needs to give Connor space. Connor needs to give Steve F1 space. No problem. But as Connor's going round turn one, yes, he's giving Steve F1 space, but also he can't take any tighter line. His car physically hasn't slowed down enough to be able to keep any tighter line. And it's a very subtle movement. Right? See if we can pick up on it. So it's on the brakes, hard, 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 turn it. That moment there, where it was hard, hard, hard on the brakes, went to turn in, but the car just moved straight on. Okay, see if I can get to it. Need to be a little later. It's a very small movement, as I mentioned. Okay, so braking at the 300. Now, bear in mind as well, I think it doesn't get fully on the brakes till quite a bit later. Okay. Yeah, so we're nearing the 200, right? Okay, so for me, there's no way you can brake at this point, even if there was no cars next to you, and take a nice apex round turn one. You can't get the car slowed down in time. So for Conrad, this would be, to his norm, braking a little later. In comparison to myself, it's braking 170 feet later. That's a massive difference, okay? But as we skip this on, as we go through, there's going to come a point where he starts to turn in, which is happening now. Right, the steering angle's starting to go on. As he's steering, he's still fully on the brakes. Now, in this car, you do not want to be on the brakes and turning. It doesn't like it. So he's turning in. Now he's just turned in that little bit more, and he's still fully on the brakes. Okay, but this is where now his car is going to slide straight on. Now, bear in mind, he is also now coming off the brakes, so he would expect the car to turn in more. Most people would. But the car is going to slide straight on forward. So if we look at the distance between Connor's car and the apex, Connor's car now is going straight forward. He has got more steering lock on than he did at any other point, but his car's not turning anymore. Okay, even if he was on the brakes fully still, he wouldn't be turning. It'd actually be going even straighter. So at this point, Connor is now sliding the front tyres over the tarmac, overheating them, damaging them, losing time. Okay, now as I said, it's a very small visual thing that I spotted, but his car has now slid on. Yes, he's got to give space to Steve F1. Steve F1 is coming over a little bit as well, because he would have braked, I would guess, around the 300. But Conrad is now only just sort of got his car into the corner. He's not got any brakes on. He's got a hell of a lot of steering lock on. Now, the good thing is Connor is aware, it would seem he's aware he's got a lot of steering lock on, because he does short shift to try and reduce any oversteer. Okay, it's his only saving grace here. But any time that he would have gained down the straight attempting to make the overtake, he's just lost in the braking zone and in the corner with the punishment on the tyres. So as this plays on, yes, his car is now making the corner, but he has lost quite a bit of time and caused quite a bit of temperature in his tyres. It may not seem like much, but again, this is building and accumulating. Okay, and as this plays on, there's the short shift. If he hadn't have done that, he would have got sideways. Now, he's managed to make the overtake, but he's put a lot of punishment through the tyres. Steve F1 is still there, and potentially with slightly better grip in his tyres. Okay, Connor's braked a little bit earlier this time, was able to come off the brakes a bit, went back on them, made the apex much nicer on this occasion. So by braking that little bit earlier, made the corner much, much better. Now, okay, it was the first time he didn't have a car next to him, but braking earlier has benefited him. Come off the steering, come off the steering, come off the steering. It sounds counterintuitive to when I say come off the steering, but it makes a big difference. Oh, he's run a bit deep. Come off the steering. Such a small moment that, but I know this is annoying, constantly going back. Okay, so the hairpin, the big hairpin, as I said, he got that right. Well, got that better with the braking. So fully brakes, come off a bit, went back on them. If it had stayed on them a little longer and then come off them, instead of going on, off, on, staying on them and coming off would have been better. Or brake that a little bit earlier and you could have come off them a lot more. But that was more how I would say it'd be better off taking that corner. Okay, the slight sideways moment that Conrad had heading onto the tunnel actually comes from down here in this lot of corners. Speeding in a little too fast, now he's on the brakes while turning, heating up the tyres. You can hear the tyres scrubbing and rubbing. Okay, so the tyres are being worked a bit, but this here, touch late on the brakes, steering, turning, bit more energy through the tyres, recovers this nicely, but the front tyres are still struggling a bit, too much steering lock, full throttle, and the rear end goes. So the tyres have just overheated a little bit too much there. Bit late on the brakes. I mean, he's got it slowed down, but nowhere near the apex. Oh, could be a penalty. Come off the steering. Okay, let's see if we stay off the curve on the left this time. Yeah, it's not helping yet. Brakes at the 300. Ooh, see how much work he's having to do through the corner. Was on the brakes for a long time, very nearly went a little deep. Had to short shift, then still had to pedal it. Okay, where we're braking this time. 300. On the brakes for much, much, much longer. See, the tyre temperatures are hot now. Sliding, tyre temperatures coming up. Get ready. This could get a bit twitchy here. Trying to switch back. Steve's there though. Oh, Artpile has a moment. Connor's alright, he got off the steering on that occasion. Get the brake in here. Oh, a little late on the brakes again. So he's having to go full brakes there. Yeah, I was avoiding full brakes there. But how are your tyres? It's struggling. The grip isn't there. Now, although Connor has made a position, I can tell the grip isn't quite there in his tyres. Okay, brakes at the 100, fully on the brakes. Okay, he's got to the apex, but the tyres are overworking. Might be too much curb. Off steering. See, it's building now. Oh, that's unfortunate with the penalty. But it's building. There's those little moments that are happening. Now, if you come off the steering, it would help. That's some stay off the curb. Oh, a little wobble. Okay, so, as I said, the tyre temperatures are building now, which means we may see Connor trying to brake at the 300. And perhaps having to stay on the brakes a little longer. Yes, he's braking through fully on the brakes, and look, Apex is over on the right there. Short shifting to kill the revs, but that is losing a bit of lap time now as well. Okay, lift off, turn in. Yeah, he hasn't quite got the turn in. He stayed off the throttle though, that does help. Okay, braking at 300, fully on the brakes. Okay, made the corner with the car in the right place, but the tyres are taking the punishment. Stay off the throttle, stay off the throttle. See there, if he stayed off the throttle, he could have held further, gone through the corner. Okay, you've got to be careful here. Come off the steering, come off the steering. Before the 100, or he's braking a bit late. Ooh, yeah. Just braking a touch late there, compromising him. Easily done. But it has now compromised him here as well. But yes, he's got a penalty. But not bad so far. But unlucky that. It's easy to do that when you're off speed having a penalty. It's like similar to when you got boost. Wobble there, unfortunately, from when it hit the wall. So I think it's all has knock-on effects. It's a better line. Not quite close enough to attack. Bob's gone a bit deep beyond. I want to have a quick. I mean, I've mentioned that Connor, I think, was a bit too far back to attack Steve F1. I mean, I would say he would be. I would say he's a bit too far to attack. I don't think he was attacking. I do believe he was defending. But something that I'm interested in is let's have a look at what the minimum apex speed is. Okay. Now we'll have boost here as well. It's hard on the brakes. 52, 51, 49. Okay, 49, and the car's wobbling on the corner exit. Okay, let's, just out of curiosity. So, the minimum apex speed might be high because it's got boost, I haven't. Look how much I'm off the brakes at the turning. 52 mile an hour, no wobble. You see the difference in the two there? That's the difference between 2 or 3 tenths of lap time between an extra lap or two of tyre wear. So it's kind of a catch-22, and to be fair, this applies to all drivers. I mean, you've just seen there, I brake at 400, and the car is so considerably more stable through the corner there with a higher minimum speed. Now, Connor did say that it was after lap 5 that things started getting a bit messy. So, I mean, so far I've only really seen one thing that I would say, yeah, I can imagine that annoying you. That'd be interesting to see. We'll go back and have a look at that in a sec. The grip's not there with the front tyres. So he's managed to hold on to the position. Oh, it's a decent bit of driving, there's no doubt about that. But it is punishing the tyres. One of the reasons why I want us to have a look at this is because, let's say, for example, if I was behind Conrad, braking at the point I do, and Conrad's braking at the point I'm seeing him brake at, I would, if he was ahead of me, I would expect him to open the gap up a bit in the braking zone. But I would also expect me to be considerably quicker at the corner and definitely on the exit. So the opportunity for me to make an overtake may appear quite late. Now, what I would say is Art Pal's in a position here already is within fair range to potentially attempt an overtake. Is that close to Connor? So whereas when Connor and Steve went into turn one, I said he's not really close enough, it's because there was like 4 or 5 car lengths. Here, there's half a car. Art Pal was on the brakes at a similar point. Yeah. So with that, giving each other space. Just struggling with a bit of understeer there is Conrad. I think a little too much throttle. He knows it though. A bit more as well. That's the limiter. Okay, so Connor's just been through those corners quite differently to how he has been previously. It's a bit more throttle usage I'll go with. Now, I don't know whether at the time he felt that Art Pal perhaps wasn't close enough to attempt to move, or it was a late move, but to be fair, he's well within range to attempt the move. He's not braked any later than Conrad does. I mean, if I was in this position, I'd be attempting the overtake here. I mean, they are both braking considerably later than I personally think is good to brake at. But this is where, again, it's one of those situations where, okay, both of the drivers have got boost, so they're going to have extra grip. But when tyre wear comes into play, you ain't going to be able to do this. Well, you may be able to do it once, but your tyres ain't going to be able to do it at lap after lap after lap after lap after. It won't happen. Because honest to God, I mean, I could do another video braking here at 300 with tyre wear on, and I could make the corner. But it won't take long until I can't make it anymore. And then I'm going to have to make my braking point longer. And I'm going to have to pit earlier. So why not brake that bit earlier at a better braking point, do less damage to your tyres and actually go faster, and also not have to pit as early? Interesting. Yeah, so I don't know whether Connor was perhaps driving a bit differently, or whether the tyre temperatures have really built up now. But we'll notice getting sideways a little bit here. Just a little too much throttle with the steering angle. This is where the front tyres are just sliding. Too much on the throttle, and then here, because he'd already got sideways a little more, it's just a knock-on effect. Now he needs to brake a little earlier. He has done. Get it slightly off the brakes. He's gone back on the brakes a few times there. Didn't need to, but hasn't got the grip. Is the grip there? Late enough on the throttle that he's all right. Okay, the move could be on. And have a quick look at that, see if anybody did anything that I feel they shouldn't. Okay, so at this point, Art Pal's definitely within range to have a look. Bob is definitely within range to have a look at Art Pal. Okay, maybe not the best of overtaking opportunities to go for here, but having said that, we did see a similar situation up at turn 1, didn't we, where Conrad was on the inside. So for me, it all depends on what each car does into this corner. So for Bob, if he's going to attempt the overtake here, he's got to keep it tight to that right side. Art Pal would need to give him the room without moving Conrad out of the way. Conrad would need to be aware that there's 2 cars attempting an overtake. Yeah, so at this point, they're definitely all within fair range. I would also say they have all, let's see, Bob's just on the brakes, Art Pal's just on the brakes, Conrad's just on the brakes. All three of them, I would say, have braked a little late. Well, I wouldn't say a little late, they have braked late. And I've just seen that I've been recording for 55 minutes and we're only at lap 8. But hopefully this is informative video for everybody. So all three are sort of actually braking how they should, in that Bob is braking that a little bit earlier because he's on the inside line, especially if his braking point is the 100, although it's late. So this is where each of these drivers are going to have to end up being fully on the brakes for longer than is really ideal. But let's move it forward. Does anybody do anything that they shouldn't? Art Pal's moving right a little bit. I'm trying to give Conrad space. I mean, I've got to say, at this point, this is all fair. Let's move on to Art Pal, see if we get a better view. Okay, so Conrad has started turning in, so has Bob. Art Pal hasn't yet. Possible Art Pal's thinking that Bob is going to understeer and go straight on. This is one of those tricky situations where if you're in Conrad's position, it is very difficult to know exactly what's going on to the right of you. But in this situation, even if Conrad feels that these two shouldn't be making the overtake, they've not done anything wrong. There's no reason why they can't attempt an overtake here. I mean, I can understand why Art Pal hasn't started turning in yet if he thinks that Bob's going to go straight on, because he has got to give Bob the space. Bob is doing everything he can to give the space. But bear in mind, look, Art Pal's still fully on the brakes. Conrad's coming off the brakes a bit. Bob's still fully on the brakes. Now he needs to be, but this is where, at this point of this corner, I'm not even anywhere near the brakes. Okay, so let's keep nudging this forward. Okay, so this is where now Bob has got to make sure he hugs that right-hand side, which it looks like he is doing. Art Pal is now behind him, so whether Bob is aware or not, he is clear. He has a little bit of space. Okay, his car's moved a little bit left, but considering that he had two cars next to him, not bad. Okay, Conrad started moving over. Okay, there's a bit of contact there, but for me, I don't have a problem with that. For the reason being that Bob has gone into that corner with two cars on his left, and he's doing everything he can to give space to those two cars on his left. One of them has now tucked in behind him, which is giving him a little bit more space. So although he's moving away from the apex a little bit, he's doing everything he can. He's trying to do everything right in that scenario. He's not gone across the road. He's trying to leave plenty of car space over to his left. So yes, there's a little bit of contact there, and I can understand it might get a little bit frustrating. Are we back on the brakes? Oh no, it's the light. But that's one of those situations where it's absolutely fine, really. There's really not a lot in that, and if someone was getting frustrated with that, I would genuinely say I don't really think there's enough there to get frustrated at. I mean, people can go for overtakes as long as it is from a fair position and attempted in a fair way, and they're trying to do all the right things. Mistakes are going to happen, but there's no like dive bombs here or anything like that. Sometimes contact happens. Right, I'm going to need to stop recording and start a new recording, so we'll be right back now. Okay, so let's see how this plays on. Okay, so once we're in this situation now, this is where both Connor and Bob need to give each other space. They know that each other's there because they have just gone through a corner 3 wide, then 2 wide. So they both do need to give that space. It looks like Bob has had a wobble. He has, hasn't he? He's had a wobble. We'll come on to him and have another look. Is he going to go for the apex? Oh, we might do. We'll see what it looks like on the other view. And I can understand Connor not wanting to go over to the left anymore here because he's already had a couple of penalties for being over the left. So Connor positioning his car here, I had no problem with that whatsoever. We'll have a look at what happened with Bob on board in a moment. So once Connor gets ahead, I mean, this is where if they were still side by side, they would still need to give each other space in the next bit. But Connor is ahead and gets through. Okay, so let's see. Did Bob have a wobble. Yep. Okay, so from the other view, yes, we could see Bob did have a bit of a wobble. Now, whether Connor would be able to see that or not, I don't know. What Connor may then have seen is what looks like Bob just going for the corner. But that's where I like doing this, really, is because this is able to say to Connor, for example, okay, Connor, whether you like them attempting an overtake or not here, they've done nothing wrong, really. And what happens next isn't just Bob going for a corner as if no one's there. He has had that moment sideways. That moment sideways that he's caught, which has now set his car off in this direction. Yes, his steering's to the left, but that's because he's just caught that oversteer moment. So as this plays on, you see how his car's straightening up and moves away? So although his steering is still left, it's a lot less left. He is not turning into the corner at this point. So his car's still going over to the right. Now he's turning into the corner. Okay, so I would look at this as what has just happened is that's just Bob getting out of shape. That can happen. Now, does Bob try to go for the apex of the corner? And I would say no. Okay, just moment before I stopped it here, there was a moment where Bob's car just straightened up a little bit. So he's leaving the space there on the left-hand side. It's a car width space, so he hasn't done anything wrong there. There's a little bit of contact, but that can happen. I wouldn't put any blame on either driver for that little bit of contact there. That can happen. So yeah, for me, that's one I wouldn't get. I might get frustrated at the time, but in hindsight, I wouldn't get frustrated over that. Bob hasn't done anything wrong there. And there's no reason why he can't try going side by side through these corners. So, yeah. Right, okay. Let's see if we can carry on. Oh, excuse me. Okay, so Conrod's curve on the left-hand side. Yep. Who's catching up quickly? I'd go defensive early myself here. I don't know if there was a nudge there. Hard to say, there might have been. Let's see, where's the braking point again? Okay. Right. 144 mile an hour, okay, should be alright. Okay. Now, please remember as well, I'm not doing this to pick on anyone or you, Connor, right? I'm just, I'm trying to help. Okay, so starting at the braking point 300, okay? But what is now going to happen is we can't get near the apex, okay? So as this plays on, we're fully on the brakes, trying to turn in, fully on the brakes, still fully on the brakes, still fully on the brakes, and now we're moving away from the apex of the corner. Now we're coming off the brakes, so the car's starting to turn a little bit, but we're still moving away from the apex of the corner. And we're still moving away from the apex of the corner. So this is where, and still moving away. So this is where I was saying, like, if I was behind Connor and I braked at my braking point, taking the line I do around turn 1, there's a good chance I could sneak into this gap on the right of Connor here, because I've got the grip in my tyres to do so. How's the grip on the exit? Is that short shifted? Okay, let's see what we get on the run down the hill. Now, I do know there's one of these where Bob gets his braking very, very, very wrong. that might be a penalty. Martin touched corner. Because he got 2 wheels on the sand as well, now the car got sideways for some lucky. I mean, he was over the track. There's a lot of steering still on there. Bit too eager on the throttle. Oh! Okay, I mean, it's not fascinating for Connor, it's fascinating for me, this. Okay, so everything's not too bad here. A lot of steering angle on, but 2 wheels on the dirt there is what is going to cost Connor coming up. A little bit sideways now, the tyre temperatures are up. A bit late on the brakes, a lot of steering angle, tyre temperatures going up. But this time Connor goes through this corner differently to how he has done previously. I know some people do like to blip the throttle through corners, but in this car it doesn't like it. But also, if you think about it, there's been a lot of times where I've said before, if you get on the throttle too soon, you can end up running wide in a corner. That's exactly what happens to Connor here. He was back on the throttle there. On the throttle, off the throttle, on the throttle. Now, if he hadn't gone on the throttle previously, it'd have been fine going on the throttle here because his car would have got around the corner a bit more. Unfortunately, because he's gone on the throttle, off the throttle, on the throttle again, the car balance is going forwards, backwards, forwards, backwards. And added to that, the car's pushing out wide as well. The tyres can't, unfortunately, can't cope with the grip, or haven't got the grip to deal with it. You see now, if he hadn't dipped the wheels, may have got away with it. It's hard to say. Okay, now the tricky bit for Connor here is trying not to get us a penalty. Now he's going to have the boost, clear track, hot tyres. Potentially frustration. Ooh! Holy shit! I never saw that bit before! Well done, Rich, for stopping. Fuck me. Braking just before the 300. Okay. Got the boost, gets round the corner. It's going to be with that polishing of the tyres. This is where it's, and I wish everyone would do this, don't fall into the trap of thinking, I've got boost, I've got a ton more grip, let's use it. Don't treat it that way. Treat it as, I've got a ton more grip, brilliant, let's brake at the right points, get the corner, turn in at the right points, and I will automatically go faster without doing any damage to my tyre, my car, or my competitors. Get a bit more eager on the throttle. 300. There's a lot of brake usage there. Is he going to get running wide? The tyres are burning up. The grip isn't there. Yes, he's got a purple lap, but that's the boost. Bob ran wide. Stay off that dirty bit, come off the steering. Do a nice early brake here, got it. They slowed it down earlier. Go off the steering, go off the steering, go off the steering. Patient here. Oh, he's got the penalty. I was saying if he was patient there, he could have attempted the overtake. Interesting. Connor's now using a lot more revs on his downshifts. He's downshifting a lot earlier. Personally, I'm not a massive fan of it. Gonna need a lift. Yep. See how much revs he's using. See, for me that also hurts the tyres. Tighter line, just a little too steering angle on there. Ooh, Bunsel. Yeah, Bunsel definitely came in a bit hot there. Let's see. Oh, you know, that's massively unfortunate, that. Because Bunsel didn't really do much wrong until that last moment when he got the understeer. There's absolutely nothing. Like, all this is absolutely fine. He's in a good position. He just needed to be slowing it down a little bit here because he's gone to turn in and follow Artpal. And it's just, yeah, see, he's on it, he knows it now. He's turned in and it's going straight on a bit. So if he'd have been able to get it slowed down a bit and stay behind Artpal, he'd have been alright, but yeah, understeered. And unfortunately did tag Connor into the dirt. Does the right thing, wait for him. I mean, I can imagine that being a bit frustrating if you can't, especially if you get a penalty for it. Showing. I'm not attacking you yet. Okay. He's in the throttle. Oh, that blip of the throttle just changed that balance, while also having dirty tyres from before. Okay, I'm just going to pause this here. Okay, quickly looking at this. Artpal, the opportunity is there. I don't know what happens here. Please, Conrad, don't go for the overtake. He's not got the grip in the tyres. Oh, yep. Nicely done, nicely done. Oh, Bob's at the wall. Nicely done from these two cars. He did go a little deep. Go deep. Little touch there, not liking it. I wonder if this is the one. This might be Bob's big boo-boo. Oh, he's out of shape. Okay, we'll go back and look at this from turn 1 in a moment. Yeah, Bob's not making that corner. That was Artpal. He's got a penalty as well. Okay, yeah. So, I mean, it's fascinating for me to watch. Okay, so interestingly, Artpal is on the brakes at the 400. Connor isn't. Bob isn't. Okay, let's see. Yeah, this is why you can't trust what the lights show, especially when watching a replay and flicking forwards and backwards and stuff like that. The lights, yeah, don't believe them. Believe the details on the screen there. Okay, so yeah, Bob ain't making this corner. Not in any way that's going to be nice. and that is exactly what we see. And into the art power, see how they gain space, but now that space just disappears. Art power's right up their arse again. So anything they gained going into the corner, they've just lost. But in addition to that, the grip, Bob's not got the grip anymore. Now, admittedly, this is where Bob should brake early for this next corner. He's not on the brakes yet. He's not on the brakes yet. He's on the brakes now. So he's braked at what would be about his normal braking point. Because he's been off the track, he ain't making the corner. He should be braking earlier. Now, this one, I could, if I'm in Connor or Steve F1's position, I would be thinking, whoa, what the fuck's just happened here? Because two cars are going to come flying by. Yeah. Okay, so let's see. Was it a bad move? For me, the move from Art Pal on Bob is there. It's available. Bob's out of shape. Not, well, it might be physically. He's out of position. He's out of shape. He's got dirty tyres. And Art Pal's got a run on him. Unfortunately, though, Art Pal brakes way too late. So, yeah, the overtake on Connor, he was too far back for. Now, both drivers have done well to avoid each other and everyone else. I mean, that simply looked like Art Pal being put off by Bob being out of shape. A little nudge. Not a lot in that. We'll just go and have a check then. So I do know Connor had said to me that he was getting a bit frustrated with nudges. You see, that's an interesting one, right? Okay, because this looks very much like two different lines being used into the corners. Okay, so both cars have got different entries, which is going to give them different exits. Now, I know for me personally, I didn't really run out to the right over here. So I didn't go over to where Steve F1 is. I tended to keep a slightly tighter line, more on the line that Art Pal is on here. And I kept a tighter line and just let it scrub my speed down. So this coming together here, although yes, there's a little bit of a nudge, there's not a lot in it. For me, that's one of those where, yeah, okay, he's got a bit of understeer. There's not a lot in that. Crack on. I mean, as far as nudges go, they're not the kind I know I'm not concerned about. Okay. Using those revs again. Off the steering, off the steering, off the steering, off the steering. Oh, on and off the throttle. Okay. Side by side we go. Nothing in there. Okay, so there, where I said nothing in that, sometimes as admins or stewards, we'll look at stuff that happens and go, yeah, there's nothing in that. Yes, there might be a little bit of contact, but it's not something that we would see as worth getting frustrated about, or as it's not like someone's done something extremely wrong. Like two cars side by side going into a corner, sometimes a little bit of contact can happen. Now, if one of those cars is just dive bombing or doing really stupid stuff, then obviously we'd have an issue with that. So, like, for example, if here Art Pal ends up in the middle of the road after being over to the right, or ends up closer to the wall on the left, then that's where I'd say, yeah, there might be something in that. But yeah, so when that little bit of contact happened, Artpal wasn't even on the throttle. He is actively trying to steer the car right more. So he's doing everything that I would want a driver in that position to do. So yeah, that's again just why I would say, yeah, there's nothing in that. Got in a little deep, go for the switchback. Oh, hang on. Right, okay. Right, this here is a moment that, if this video ever comes out, should have been discussed with both Connor and Artpal. So bear with me a second. With the footage also being shown to them. So this is a situation where at the time of the race, Artpal did mention he wondered what Connor was doing. He felt Connor was bumping into him on the straight. And Artpal did message the page, the admins, about it. Didn't want any like penalties or anything like that, but he sort of just wanted it clarifying and sort of the admins being aware of it and Connor being aware of it, of what may have actually happened here. And I know I was speaking to Connor a couple of days after the race, and he did say to me that he was frustrated that Artpal was bumping into him on the straights. Now, so far, we've not seen any of that. We are about to see it. So what we've got here is a situation where two drivers both think that the other person has been bumping into them on the straight. And sometimes both drivers might be right, sometimes both drivers might be wrong, and sometimes one driver might be right and one driver might be wrong. Now, as I said, both drivers will have been messaged about this and been sent footage of this, so I'm not going to go too massively into this at the moment, other than to say, on this straight, we're going to see it now and in a lap or two. We're going to see two drivers that are not turning into each other, but we are going to see two cars come together. And what happens here is Artpal is currently going in a straight line on those yellow lines. Conrad is currently going in a straight line. See, both are sort of going straight. But in a moment, Steve F1 has just started doing it. Steve F1 is going to move across the road. And when he does that... no, sorry, it's already happened. Let me go back a little bit. Yeah. So, as these two are... Okay, so Connor's straight here. Artpal's getting himself into position on the yellow line. Now, Connor at one point just does a little turn to the right. I think it's coming up now. There. Okay, so it's coming now. So he's just doing this little turn to the right to follow Steve F1, right? And at the point that that happens, Artpal is going straight on those yellow lines. Okay, so as this plays forward, Conrad's done his little turn to the right. Now he's coming off the steering, and he's starting to go in a straight line. However, Connor's straight line is slightly diagonal across the track. So what we're going to have here is Artpal's car is going to go in a straight line, Conrad's car is going to go in a straight line, but Conrad's car is going to move from the left-hand side of the road over to the middle of the road, and there's going to be contact between Artpal and Conrad. In this situation, Artpal hasn't done anything wrong, and doesn't have to move over. It doesn't have to move over to the right. If Artpal's car had done a little turn left, a bit like Conrad's did the little turn right, and both were on a a diagonal that brought them both together, then we would say when the contact happens, both cars should have been giving each other more room. That's not what happens with this situation. So as this plays on, you see Conrad's car, there's now more of a gap over to the left, and his car is moving over to the right. And it does look like he's sort of trying to hold Steve F1's slipstream. So as Conrad's car has moved over to the right, Art Pal's car has also actually moved over to the right a little bit. So he's not gone left in any way. But this is a situation where, and we've had it before with other drivers, where in Art Pal's situation, he doesn't have to move right, even if that would be what the normal racing line might be. He doesn't have to move over there. There's no reason why he should. So in this situation, it is unfortunate that Conrad's car has moved across and made contact with Art Pal, and does push him a little bit further over the yellow line. Now, this is where in that other scenario I mentioned, we would say to both drivers, well, once there's contact, you should be giving each other room now. But this one's a bit different, because if I'm in Art Pal's position, I would be thinking, you can't just push me over the road. Because in Art Pal's position, that is what he will feel like is being done, is being pushed over the road. So he will feel like he shouldn't be moving, and you can't just move him across the road. So the contact continues on, and you'll see that Connor's car does push Art Pal's car further over the yellow line. So it's gone from Art Pal's car being right wheels on the yellow lines to now the yellow lines are just over halfway under the car from Connor's car moving over. Now, again, as I mentioned, both drivers felt that the other was bumping into them. In this situation, it is Connor's car that moves across the road into Art Pal's. Okay, so as this plays on, see, that's one as well where I think if I'm in Art Pal's position, I would be thinking, come on, don't push me out, don't push me over, you can't, I'm here, and I might get a little bit frustrated towards the corner, because at this point you would be feeling like, what are you pushing me for? I mean, they're both in fair range to attempt an overtake on each other. Connor's trying to close the door a bit. I mean, I'd say it's perhaps a little close to fully close the door, really. But this is one of the reasons why we're doing this video, and the drivers have been messaged privately, is because if whatever happens from this point on is from drivers' frustration of what has just happened on the straight, then the drivers need to make sure that what they're getting frustrated about is the right thing to be frustrated about. Because in this situation, for Connor, there isn't really anything that he should be frustrated about of what's just happened on the straight. Because Art Pal's done nothing wrong there. I can understand Art Pal being frustrated with it, but that doesn't mean that Art Pal could just go and wipe out Conrad. That's not how it works. But does it mean that Art Pal should back off and not attempt an overtake, or Connor should back off and not attempt an overtake? No. Okay. Now, as this progresses around the corner, I don't know what happens here, but there is a gap opening up there, and I don't blame Art Pal really for sticking his nose in there, especially given the braking points. But I can imagine from Connor's position, he may be frustrated about Art Pal sticking his nose in. Let's have a look. I mean, I think if I'm in Art Pal's position, I would be thinking I might be deserving of a bit of space here. You've not really given it me down the straight, and I should have it in the corner. So yeah, I do wish I could just skip back a couple of frames. It's really annoying. So Art Pal's up a little earlier on the brakes. Yeah, so I I mean, I wouldn't say that Art Pal's done anything wrong here. He's well within his rights to put his car in that position, as long as his car doesn't start swinging way over to the left, which it is starting to do a little bit. Connor's car is also coming to the right. Okay, so this now is a point where I would say, right, both drivers now need to be giving each other a bit more space. Whatever's just happened on the straight is now irrelevant. You're both side by side now. You both should be giving it, making sure you're not hitting each other. Okay, so the little door-to-door continues on, but again, this is now stemming from a situation where Conrad in his mind is thinking, fucking hell, Art Pal, what are you doing bumping into me down the straight? And thinking, potentially thinking, I'm having none of this, I'm going to hold my position. And when it comes to attempting, you're not coming past me in the corner, and I'm going to hold my position on the next straight. You've just put me sideways, and you've got Art Pal thinking, fucking hell, Connor, what you doing bumping into me down the straight, and then trying to block me off in the corner as well, and then you're trying to push me over again. This is all stuff now that, yeah, we don't need this to be happening, but it stems from both drivers thinking that the other is the one doing the bumping. So as I mentioned as well, this is where, okay, that's all done, give each other space. Which they do. That's fine. Okay, so it's a risky one, that. I mean, we saw Steve F1 do a similar move earlier when Connor was right behind him, moving across in the braking zone. It's one of those where if you're ahead, you can do it, but if you are moving across in front of someone in the braking zone, there's a good chance that something could happen. So you see, I would say at this point, yeah, both of these drivers, yeah, got to be giving each other space. Moving across now, yeah, you're not ahead. Now, one of the difficulties with GT7 is the blue arrow on the radar. It is possible that on Connor's radar it showed him as being ahead. Unfortunately, he's not. The radars aren't accurate. We talk a little bit about that on commentary. But yeah, I mean, given that there is a little bit of overlap there, yeah, Conrad shouldn't really be moving across in that way, in all honesty, because you're side by side, you should be giving each other room. So Art Pal's managed to get it slowed down and avoid the back of Conrad. But like I say, that's one of those where if you're in Conrad's car and you are ahead and you make that move, there is the risk that you get hit from behind, a bit like Danny Rick and Verstappen at Baku. And if you're side by side, you really can't do that move. So as this progresses on, I can perhaps understand that Connor in a moment is about to get frustrated, saying, "What are you doing, sticking your nose up here?" And to be fair, there is not the space there for Art Pal to put his nose up there. This bit is all on Art Pal, but not making an excuse. Does this stem from what has just been happening previous? You're bumping into me. You're bumping into me. You're blocking me off on a corner. You're bumping into me. You've just chopped my nose off down into the braking zone. Frustrations could be building from both drivers now. Art Pal has definitely created some space here, but I would definitely say both drivers are not helping each other or helping themselves much at this moment in time. And as I said, these are the reasons why I'm doing this video, and we've had a chat with the drivers in private. Okay. Now, whether this is going to continue on, I don't know. We'll find out. get the full 20 laps done in less than 2 hours. That could be close to a penalty. The second occasion it's going to happen on this straight. Let's see what we get here. Is it? No, it's not. Artpal and Bob are going to slipstream. So Bob with a little nudgy nudge, but he's made sure that Artpal stayed ahead of him. Come across Bob. So careful like that. Bit much throttle. So good so far. Bob's going to have a look. So let's see. Was Bob in the... Was he... oh, well, okay. At this point, it could be possible to say he might be close enough. Oh, yeah, you know what? Okay, yeah, looking at this. This is one of those... I see it so many times. You go to do a switchback on someone and someone else fucking appears in the space. When you're doing in the middle of doing the switchback and you turn in and then there's a car there, 100% it feels like, what the fuck are you doing? Where have you come from? But, yeah, done nothing wrong there, Bob. I mean, if he'd have come from way far back, they're obviously very different. But it's not like he's gone late moving into the space. He's already there. Yeah, he's already partly alongside before that. I'm okay with what Bob's done. What Bob has done here. He hasn't done anything wrong. Like I say, he hasn't come diving in. Fuji's another track where we see things like this happen a lot, because given the nature of the corners, and sometimes people do come from way far back. On this occasion, Bob hasn't come from way far back. He's all right there. Does he give the space on the exit? Just. I can understand, though. I mean, I've been in that situation in Connor's position. It is frustrating when that happens. It's not until you look at the footage where you can go, oh, right, okay, it was there, fair. Oh, that's late on the brakes. Oh, okay, it got a bit of a nudge. Right, okay, it's an interesting one now. Okay. Yeah, unfortunately for Connor, he has braked way too late here. I mean, he's in position to make the move, no doubt about it. He's just tried to brake later than Artpal. I mean, Artpal is on the brakes and Artpal's braking late. Okay. Yeah, you ain't making this corner. You're not making this corner. Yeah, so looking at this, even if I didn't play it on, it'd be like, yeah, okay, chances are you're not making the apex here. Which then means what happens in the middle of the corner could take a different dynamic. So as we saw, Connor's car slides across the road, Artpal's going for the switchback. And interestingly as well, so Artpal's going for the switchback, but Bunsell does tag the back of Artpal, which puts Artpal into the back of Conrad. Now, interestingly enough, I mean, I was going to say, had Artpal gone for the switchback there and nudged the back of Conrad, I don't think I'd have put much blame on Artpal. Because if you're in the position where Conrad is and you go up the inside, your job is to keep that tight line. If you can't keep that tight line, then there is effectively more on you for what happens then in the corner, because your car is where it shouldn't be. Artpal looks like he actually got the switchback pretty decent, but Bunsel's given him a bit of a tag. Now, this is one of those situations where, if asked the question, should Artpal wait for Conrad here? Not speaking as an admin or as a steward, I would say no, because Artpal hasn't done anything wrong in this situation. So, no, I don't think I would put any blame on Artpal for this one. Would I put any blame on Bunsel? Maybe a little bit, because he has tagged the back of Artpal. He's made sure that Artpal stayed ahead of him. Unfortunately, Conrad has got the corner a little bit too deep and then has been contacted. Yeah, I don't know what else I could really say about that one. That's risky. Okay. Risky, but no harm in doing that. Bob. Ah, okay, right. This is the second one where there's a bit of bumping down the straights. And this one is fractionally different to the other one in that Artpal is not in the middle of the road this time. He is a little bit further over to the left. Now, with this, I look at this and think, okay, both drivers from previous are thinking the other person has bumped into them. There is the possibility that we could see a lot of door banging here if both drivers think the other guy is bumping into me again. But this is where it comes down to the details of, okay, what does actually happen. And I say I've done a video separately to that in private. But in this case, it's pretty much the same situation in that Artpal is going to be keeping a straight line. Connor's going to be keeping a straight line, but it's on a slight of a diagonal. So both cars have just sort of got themselves into position here. We're going to see Artpal's car move over to the left a little bit, and there's absolutely no reason why it can't. Does he leave the car's width? Oh, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Okay, so Artpal's car is moving over, right? Now, if it keeps moving over and makes contact with Connor, then obviously Artpal's in the wrong. Artpal's steering is straight. He's not turning, but it is on a little bit of a diagonal, okay? Whereas previously, on the other lap, it wasn't on a bit of a diagonal, it was straight. Conrad's steering is also straight here. So as this plays on and the cars get closer and closer and closer, there isn't any contact yet. I still don't think there's any contact yet. I could be wrong. Wrong camera angle. I wanted to do this. Like, it is millimetre close. Right. Now, it could be said, yeah, okay, both drivers could be start getting ready now. You've got to give each other room. What we don't want to see is Artpal moving any more left and not giving Connor that car's width. And right now, he is no longer moving left. Let's see. He's actually actively got a little bit of right steering on, so he's now starting to move away from Conrad. Conrad's still going straight. See, Artpal's car is now moving away from Conrad. So although it's got tight, there's been no contact, and Artpal is giving the space. So everything so far, absolutely no problem. We can clearly see Artpal's car moving further and further away. But what we would now start to see is Conrad's car start moving over to the right as well. Got a little bit of steering lock on. Now, Artpal now isn't moving over to the right anymore. He's not turning left. He's going straight. He just isn't going over to the right. And he can. There's nothing wrong with that. Conrod's car, though, is still coming over to the right as we see his car is moving across the road, and that's when we then have the contact. Now we've got the same situation again, where we've got Art Pal thinking, what are you doing? You're bumping into me, and Conrad thinking, what are you doing? You're bumping into me. Unfortunately, in both scenarios, it is Conrad's car that is moving across the road into Art Pal's car. Art Pal, once he'd started moving to the right, his then trajectory isn't diagonal over to the left, it's straight. So in this situation, again, it is Conrad's car that moves over. Now, there's a bit more door banging here, and again, I can understand it, but I don't like to see it. But if you're in Art Pal's position, you would be thinking, oh, you can't just move me out of the way. If you're in Conrad's position and you're thinking that the other guy's bumping into you, you're going to hold your line. But this is why we always say, have a look at the footage, guys, because what you think might have happened might not be what's happened. And if someone happened to lose their temper over this, well, let's put in all honesty, if Art Pal lost his temper over this, I could understand it. If Conrad lost his temper over this, well, I'd be a little concerned, because Art Pal hasn't done anything wrong, and it'd be a little bit unfair to be annoyed at Art Pal for what's happened there. Okay, let's carry on. And that was a 200 brakes, which is why we're now in the middle of the road. Now, we still haven't seen the big bashing of Bob on Connor that happens at the hairpin. It might be now. I said that a few times, but a little D. This has gone on for quite some time. To be fair, if anybody has got all the way through this to this point, thank you and well done. But also, Connor, I know I said to you that I wanted to have a chat with you about a few things, help you with a few things. This is exactly what I would have done with you in conversation, gone through this like this. So yeah, please don't think that I'm picking on you. I'm not. I'm actively trying to help. 300 braking. There's an apex over there. Now, Connor's minimum speed will be higher now with having the boost. We're on the throttle. Another reason why I'm doing this as well is because, okay, let's say for example, okay, having seen those two bits on the straight, if you're Connor, or if you're in Connor's position and you're frustrated because of what someone's been doing, if you then find out that actually that person didn't do anything wrong, then you can get rid of that frustration. If you don't find out that that person didn't do anything wrong, and you keep hold of that frustration, it can build and build and build. So there's always the potential now of someone in Connor's position getting a little bit more aggressive with the overtakes, aggressive with the braking. Now, I'm not saying that others haven't done anything wrong. Clearly, they do and they have. Even I do. But it's one of those things as, oh, yeah, there's nowhere really to go there. Okay, you just be careful here. Nice move. Bump drafted, bump drafted, bump drafted. If you'd have bump drafted Bob, you'd have caught up to Steve, and you could have attempted the overtake. Okay, braked a little earlier than he would normally do, just before the 300, but still later than I would like to see. Just leaving him space. Okay, I'm just going to stop this here for a moment, right? Because one of the things that I know that was mentioned at one point was about some nudges. Okay, so I mentioned a little bit as well earlier about the blue arrow. Bob's position of his car compared to Conrod's right now, on Bob and Conrod's radars, it will look like there is a ton of space between them. Like literally, it will show, like it will make Bob think that the gap between the front of his car and the back of Connor's car is not front bumper to rear bumper, more like it's front bumper to rear wheels. And if you're in Connor's car, it's going to make you think that it's if you go from Connor's rear bumper, the front of Bob's car is like where Bob's front wheels are, if not further back. So it can give that impression that Bob is much further back than he currently is. And that is possibly the reason why we might see people trying to do switchbacks and catching people, or having done an overtake, move across in front of someone, but actually make contact. I do believe a big part of it is down to the arms. Okay. Oh, this is Bobby's balls up! Right, okay. This one, fully understand Conrad getting frustrated with this one. What I will say though is, I mean, Bob got his braking wrong here once, quite a few laps ago, I think. I'm not really seeing him do it many other times that I've seen, at least not onto Conrad. So now Bob's in a position where the attempt of an overtake is on. He's just out of control of his car a little bit, isn't he? And he's not on the brakes yet. He's trying to move right. Yeah, so Bob's just got himself a little bit out of shape and been caught out, and then braked a touch too late. So yeah, fully on Bob, that one. Now he does do the right thing. Waits. And we do say make sure you wait in the nearest safe place. Now, interestingly as well, I mean, that's one of those things where if that's been happening a lot, I can understand getting really annoyed with it. But I've not really seen that happening a lot around Conrad at the moment, so I don't think it'd be fair to be getting frustrated at Bob for late brake moves, because he's only really done one, which has caused any contact. So yeah, but an accumulation of frustration of other things I could understand. Okay, interesting. Right, okay. Right. This is what I would call a sign of a driver who is frustrated. Definitely frustrated now. And that being that as these guys are coming down here, Connor may be a little touch too far away to attempt to move here. If he's going to attempt to move, as we said before, if it's going to up that inside, you've got to keep it tight. But it's this move here. That move to the right is I'm attempting an overtake on you, or I'm at least going to look up the inside and see if I can put you off. Now, this is one of those where you have to be very, very careful. If it's a dummy to put someone off, no problem. If it's a I am going for an overtake, you got to make sure you get it right. It goes for anybody. But he kind of very late, very, very late on the brakes there. Now, Rich was late on the brakes as well, and he's not made the corner. But this is where, yeah, Connor's with being so late on the brakes has now understeered into the middle of the road. Luckily though, Rich Blues has done it even worse. So this is a situation where now the overtake is going to appear, because it's happened so late. This is where in Conrod's position you have to be aware that Rich may not realise you're there. Both drivers, and Rich may have to be aware that Connor is having a look at coming past. See, that there I think is one of those blue arrow nudges, and again, you know, if you're in Connor's position, yeah, you get frustrated at that, because if we look at it from the view that Connor is using, which I think is the bonnet view, it will look like Rich has just cut him up. Rich isn't cutting him up. He'd have looked at the radar and it looks like he's ahead. Unfortunately, he's not. Rich probably doesn't even know there was any contact there. And the same here. I mean, it's risky having your nose in there. On the radar, there would have been a big gap. Okay, I'm going to pause it there because I need to stop it for the second hour. Okay, so let's carry on. A bit of lag. Wanting to slide. That's the thing with the braking at the points. The Connor, Bob, Art Pal, Steve R. It is making a bit of contact between Art Pal and Steve F1. Not a lot Connor can do there. More there. Okay. Can happen. Unfortunate, getting caught up in there. Yeah, so as I say, like, braking at the points the drivers are, the effect it's having on the tyres. Oh, it's 100 braking again. Cheeky look at the inside there. I can have a look at that in a sec. Okay. So let's have a look. Okay, yeah. So here I actually would say Art Pal's probably not really in a position to go sticking his nose up there, unless as they're going round the corner, the space progressively becomes available. So let's see. So. Yeah, I mean, at the moment, Connor hasn't started sort of turning in, so Arpal hasn't really done anything wrong at all there. Coming into the apex, Steve F1's moving across, and yeah, to be fair, so, yeah, Arpal's not done anything wrong here. He's keeping the line where he should. And is he gonna move over the this? I reckon this is going to be two cars just coming together here. He's still over on the right. Yeah, you see, Connor might think at this point that either he's too far back or he's not there. He's fairly in that space. I mean, both Steve F1 and Conrad are wide in the corner, and Art Pal's fairly got up into the space, and he's in control of his car. And he's still turning right around the corner. Yeah, you see, so from the view on Connor, it looked like a cheeky look up the inside, but it actually isn't a cheeky look up the inside. Looks like Connor may have spotted that he's there. I mean, he can't go any more to the right, can he? And he's definitely not got a car's width there. Yeah, I wouldn't put any blame on Artpal on that one, unfortunately. I don't think Connor has realised that Artpal was there. So I don't think it's just Connor turning in on him. Yeah, I just think it's two cars have gone a little deep. Artpal's kept a tight line and got around the corner quite nicely. Yeah. Yeah, there's no wrong with that. I mean, if you are Artpal there, I mean, you have to be aware that it's possible Connor may not have seen him approaching, but Artpal's definitely not gone in there late, hot, out of shape or anything like that. Not done anything wrong. Diagonal braking. It's very... Okay, here, if you're going to diagonal brake, you've got to be ahead. But as I said earlier, if you're going to brake in a straight diagonal line towards the corner, there's a good chance you may get hit by the car behind. Because as Steve F1's on the brakes, Conrad's car is moving in front of him. Now, should Steve F1 move over to the right? Questionable. But at the same time, I mean, he is moving over to the right. Now, yeah, see, that's why diagonal braking, you have to be so bloody careful with it. Now, Steve F1's going to go a little bit deep in this corner, but that's one of the things of, if you go in front of someone as you're braking, you take away their grip. Interestingly as well, to do with the blue arrow, there's a good chance here that Connor's gone for the switchback, thinking there was space on the arrow, but he's just tagged the side of Steve F1's car. Now, Artpal come through as well. Don't know if that was fair or not. Let's have a look. See, the interest, Artpal braking much earlier. It's got the grip and the space is there. Yeah, he's left the space on the exit. There's nothing wrong with that there. Although I can imagine from Connor's view, it might have looked very different to that. And let's have a look. So Connor's actual, if he's on riding on board, so what he actually may experience visually here, may just seem like Artpal steaming through at the last moment, but to be fair, yeah, Artpal's done nothing wrong there. Was on the brakes a little earlier than his norm. Bob's having a look. No harm in having. He's going to have another look. See, with the nature of these, oh, that's a penalty. Oh, it's unfortunate. Yeah, with the nature of these corners, like, having a look is on now and again. Oh, he's on the marbles. Okay, he's on the tight line. Don't blip the throttle, don't blip the throttle. Late on the brakes, but we had the penalty, so we get away with that one. Nice switch. Oh, Bob, that's unlucky. That's so unlucky for Bob. Just dipped a wheel. He's kind of going to hold the tight line. No, he's moving across. But this is good, seeing both drivers giving each other the space now. Oh, Bob's going to run wide. Oh, so unlucky. Yeah, so easily done that. Oh, God, oh, that's unlucky. No, I didn't look there. I'm going to guess that was either just too fast in or was on the brakes and it didn't turn. Let's see, we're on the brakes. Brakes, yeah. That's the ball ache thing about those corners. You go fully on the brakes, it won't turn. Oh, Bob's on wide. Late on the brakes. Car's sliding. Oh, flipping, running wide. To the steering angle. Oh dear. Oh. Tiny details. Tiny details. Okay, so we've had a little bit of an off before. A little late on the brakes for me here, because this is one of those corners where you want to be off the brakes around this corner, and off the steering, off the steering, off the steering, off the steering. The little bit of a blip of throttle there, now we're running wide, so already we're in danger, which means when we go back on the throttle, we've got to make sure we're coming off the steering. That doesn't happen until it's too late. Now there is a bit of contact there from Art Pal. Let's have a look from his view. Oh, yeah. I don't think there's anything Art Pal could really have done there. Car gets sideways in front of you, then yeah, there's not a lot you can do. Oh dear. I can understand Connor getting frustrated towards the end there. Gets it with a penalty as well. But there's things in there that Connor can work on, and it'll make his racing so much easier. And a lot of it, like 99% of it, 99% of it comes down to the braking, and the points he's braking and how much he's braking. The other percent is the steering angle from mid to exit corner. Okay, what I'm going to do, obviously this video has gone on for a long time, just so that I can try and give hopefully a bit of a decent example. Let's go to my fastest lap. Okay, so we just started. Yeah, okay, so we just started. So this is going to be my fastest lap that I do in the race. So let's have a look at the difference of braking point, how much I'm braking, how much I'm steering. Okay, now if I was in a battle, I would still be trying to do these exact same things, but obviously taking into account leaving space in corners and things like that, which does bring in its differences. But my aim would always be to try and brake at the same point, turn in at the same point, hit same apexes, be nice and smooth. So we'll see how this goes. This way, it'd probably be an absolute shocker of a lap. Okay, so lifted off and braked at the 400. Fully off the brakes as we're turning in. We were on and off the throttle, but we weren't fully off the throttle. Patient with getting back on the throttle. Dipped a wheel. Okay, where we're braking. 400. Off the brakes as we're turning in. Steering coming off. Slow it down, slow it down. Notice I missed the apex there, but notice I didn't go back on the throttle at any point. Okay, let's see what I do with the steering angle down here. Braking a straight line. Do I come off the steering? A little earlier than Connor was. Let's see how I get with this left-hander. Steering coming off now. Come on. Yep. Patient. The thing is, this doesn't look fast. But the points that I'm really wanting the front tyres to do their work, I'm fully off the brakes. Straighten up the wheel here. Straighten. See how early I was on straightening the wheel there? There we go. So not a dramatic lap, but a lap that was my quickest lap of the race. Would have done pretty much zero damage to the tyres. Wasn't pushing the tyres anywhere throughout the lap. Didn't struggle for grip really anywhere. Didn't understeer anywhere. May have missed an apex or two, but wasn't because I was understeering. I may have carried a little bit too much speed, but I then wasn't fighting the car to get it into the corners. And that, I think, is probably the biggest difference. Now, I know this video has gone on way longer than I expected it to. Whether anybody will watch it, I don't know. Hopefully, though, people do and find it massively helpful. And I'll emphasise again, Connor, I am not doing this to pick on you. I've done this to actively try and help you with your own racing and to try and help quell any frustrations that you may have been having. Some people may think, well, why haven't you done it for Bob, or why haven't you done it for Art Pal, or why haven't you done it for Bunsell? Let's remember what I said at the start. Conrad offered his footage forward to the stewards, so that's one reason. Now, if Bob or Art Pal or anybody else would like me to review their footage, I will happily do that. What I will say is, for things that frustrate people in races, report them. The specific moments, incidents that they happen, then it can be dealt with, rather than letting any frustrations build up. Right, that's it. I'm done. I'm going to go and have a drink and a dinner and see what time it is, because this has been going on for ages. Have a good one, everybody. Thanks for watching and listening. You know what to do. Like, subscribe, hit the notifications bell, and we'll see you all again soon. Bye.